But it's not necessarily what appeals to me about this particular lifestyle. It's that I find more and more that I can't live within the society as it's generally accepted as normal to people. It doesn't seem normal to me.
Well, we know where we're going, but we don't know where we've been. And we know what we're knowing, but we can't say what we've seen. And we're not little children, and we know what we want, and the future is certain. Give us time to work it out. Yeah. We're on the road to nowhere. Come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. Feeling okay this morning, and you know we're on a road to paradise. Here we go, here we go.
I tell you how many weeks I've been delivering to them. About 12 weeks. That's 3 months in them. They're quite nice people, actually. I mean, I'm surprised that, how many of them seem to be so well educated. They would do anything for anybody down there. You know what I mean?
What made you want to leave conventional society?
Well, the whole way the system's geared, like getting to the top of the heap and succeeding and climbing the social ladder and all that sort of thing. It's not real, it's just not real, and people are forced to accept less than what they want or less than what they should have, and people are abusing the earth. They're just killing it, just for want of money and just for that whole ethic, and it's just filthy really, and it stinks. Still, that's what they say about me.
Yeah, well, obviously the looks put people off, don't they?
We all recycle things. I mean, we all look extremely tatty, perhaps. I mean, I'm quite sure we do. People suffer culture shock when they see us. It's because we don't spend our resources on new things that we're told we actually need.
You don't have to be dirty and travel. You can be clean and travel. There's nothing worse for me to feel dirty. I don't feel right.
Cleanliness is extremely important. Although the children are muddy, mud isn't dirty because it's clean mud, if you see what I mean. If it was full of sewerage or something other, then it would be dirty. I have no children myself, but all the children here are as if they are my own children, and they're the rainbow warriors of tomorrow, and they're the ones that we should be worrying about.
This princess had one favourite
among all her toys. It was a golden ball. She spent many hours throwing it up into the air and catching it.
Do get the opportunity, these kids, to go to school if they want to go to school, you see. If they don't want to go to school, they don't go to school. Now the nights are drawing out and the days hopefully are getting warmer. The kids don't want to go to school again. They've been going to school on this site all winter. But now they've stopped going to school because they learn more from being on site with their parents and with their friends than they ever pick up in a classroom. They're bright. There's no flies on these kids.
We're all one big family. family and we'll all look after each other.
So people who perhaps got, psychological problems and can't cope with the strange society kind of end up coming to it for refuge. So you get quite a lot of people who are going through quite heavy personal problems and who are actually taken in by travellers effectively and given sort of a support, which they wouldn't get in sort of the established society outside of kind of institutions which kind of cripple people.
People do find a certain type of refuge here, but also it's got to be give and take. Like with every situation, with the way we live. I mean, we share a lot more than. We share a lot. We share our feelings. We share our material things. A lot more than people who live maybe in the city, and it's got to be with us, the people of the core group. It is give and take, isn't it? Like, I've run out of paraffin, I'll go and see Dave. If Dave's not there, I know if I find his paraffin container, it's all right for me to fill, because he knows any time he can come and do it to me, and it's totally with tools, with knowledge even, to a certain extent. If they're not busy, they'll come and show you how to do something, I'll go and show them how to do something,
We do, in effect, share a communal house. The sky is our ceiling and the earth is our floor.
Yeah.
And the fact that we live in different vehicles is very similar to having rooms in a house.
We don't rely on the state to keep us like all of you do. We work hard. We don't want you.
And then we're work. There is 5 million unemployed.
Yes, none of you are employable. I cannot believe that it can happen.
I've always been aware that the environment I've lived in is not right and is not good enough and could be better. I've just always known it. It's taken me this long to actually get out of it.
It didn't really just seem to be enough to go to meetings and talk with people and, you know, try and campaign just on a local level. It actually had to be a change in the way we lived. So that our lifestyle reflected a different value from the value that the society that was living that produced nuclear weapons did.
It's no good telling you something's bad, something's not working, unless you've got something to put in its place. Something that is working.
This group has been called everything from extremists to elite was the last thing they got called, with the elitists of the road, Rainbow Village.
This all started back at Molesworth.
Molesworth started out of a green gathering. From my personal experience, I'd just been through quite a political year in Brighton, down in Sussex, East Sussex, and I'd gone up to Molesworth looking for something different. I had difficulty with landlords and was beginning to feel that life was not fulfilling because I had my own ideals. I was finding it very hard to live by those ideals. And Molesworth suddenly became something more to me apart from a green gathering. It became an opportunity to do something positive and creative on land that was going to be used for destructive means. And that is the basis of the Rainbow Warrior belief. It's not to protest about things as they do, as so many groups do. You'll find out that they've got petitions against this, that and the other, and people stand there with their banners. But they don't ever try and do anything positive and creative as an alternative. And all of a sudden, Heseltine came along and we got turned into a convoy. I mean, the peace convoy had been a fear that I'd heard about for years, you know, all these, you know, the peace convoy, whereas the peace convoy itself actually turned up 2 weeks before we got evicted, and how we'd have survived that eviction, I don't know. The realisation that everything we'd been working for could just be taken away from underneath our feet, and there was nothing anybody could do about it, and here we were. I'd given up everything, my home, I'd even sold my pension, do you know what I mean? I'd sort of been working hard and I'd sold all my funds and everything to buy myself a vehicle to live in, and now this vehicle actually had to drive somewhere.
What it is we're not like dropping out. There's a lot of easier ways of dropping out than trying to do what we tried to do at Molesworth and what we're still trying to do now. Do you know what I mean? You want to drop out, I mean, you could just go and sort of get hooked on Smack, which is pretty easy to do nowadays in this city.
Horrific.
You can drop out. I don't know, I'm building a new way. I like to see myself as a pioneer.
I feel it's also, it challenges the basic assumptions that the mainstream society is based on, that the more that you have, the happier you're going to be, and so forth, because I think that on the whole, you know, people can be quite happy in this sort of way of life and everything, you know, and they're happy who haven't got a lot, they're living pretty much in the breadline, and yet there's kind of like a feeling of kind of zest for life, which is perhaps lacking amongst lots of people who are perhaps, you know, doing quite well out of the system.
We could stay here and in a month's time we'd be twice the size.
Yeah.
The people who had no idea at all why they'd come, but they knew they just had to come, and we can't encompass it. We need a bit of land to show these people how to actually live in tune with nature.
What happened to the car then?
Well,
Got vigid.
Got well vigid, didn't it? Yeah, took all the windows out, all the lights out, took the dashboard out. All because I ran out of petrol about a 10-minute walk from site.
Who do you reckon did it?
Vigilantes, local ones from the street area. Not a lot I can do about it though. Mind you, these people were about 75 yards away from it when it happened. They didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing, didn't do anything.
What part of the world do you originate from then? Where are you from?
Essex originally. But Britain.
It's nice to, I'm not saying that we get about and speak with people in the convoys all the time, but it's nice to know where different people come from.
Well, I think if you talk to enough people, they come from everywhere. I would think that's true amongst your boys as well.
Oh yeah, most certainly. I don't look upon, there's no difference between you and me, is there?
We had about an hour's warning, basically, before we moved, so it was all rather sudden. Most people are just looking for somewhere peaceful where they can work on their vehicles and also try and get ready for the summer season, which is fast approaching us.
Okay, I think we'll begin. Seem to have quite a good crowd. Thanks for coming. Welcome to you all. June and the 13th Stonehenge People's Free Festival is now only 4 weeks away. Time moves rapidly on. Now, as you're probably aware, last June there was a rather ugly incident a few miles from Stonehenge, which I think everyone would do well to avoid this year. This press conference and the campaign of action that it announces is aimed at averting another battle, as it was called, and at persuading the National Trust, which for 11 years has allowed the festival to happen, that it should return to its previous stance of reluctant toleration.
The Trust feels very strongly that enough is enough. We can't allow any more of these large-scale gatherings, which, however much you may be in favour of the gathering itself, are bound to do damage to the ground.
It's not on. I was down at Stonehenge yesterday having a good survey of the area and a good look at it. There are fields that are ploughed up to 100 yards from Stonehenge. The fields that we are supposed to do untold archaeological damage by standing on or sitting on or having our vehicles on were ploughed by George's best friend's father.
Originally my family owned the land. It was sold to the National Trust many, many years ago, and we rented it back for a very, very long time. Therefore, when suddenly this festival arrived, as it did, one day it appeared overnight. That'd be about 73, 74, somewhere around about there. We were faced at 4:30 in the morning with 400 people. I mean, that's a big festival. And decided then there was nothing we could do against 400 people. Therefore, it got a little bit of condescension from us. We had to move the cows, the whole dairy, moved into the next field to be milked that morning. Archaeological damage. All the fields that I was concerned with, we had ploughed those fields for the better part of 100 years before. No, I would disagree entirely. They weren't saving very much indeed. It had all been dug and researched.
And we wonder about this archaeological damage, which seems to be their only criteria, but that isn't their criteria. Their criteria, if indeed it's even theirs, has got something to do with stopping us meeting, has got something to do with stopping our culture.
You use the label hippie. I don't know if you know what a hippie is. You use the label peace convoy. I don't know where the word peace ever comes from. The convoy is a group of people who draw together about this time of year, and they hold what they call their free festivals. They are illegal festivals, and they penetrate for the purpose of drug trafficking, running their protection racket. And if you analyse some of your programmes, they will talk about that they need the festivals so that they can sell certain items, etc. Question what those items are.
Festival Welfare Services has
provided a welfare service at the Stonehenge Festival since 1975. We're familiar with the people who attend and with the problems that arise. Like any community of 30,000 people, the festival has its fair share of problems caused by human failings of all kinds. But it's quite wrong to suggest that somehow the festival is some kind of unique centre of evil. The majority of the people who go to the Stonehenge Festival are in fact entirely conventional people. Whether they are or not, all of them are human beings with normal human feelings and entitled to normal human concern.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like actually in the sort of middle of the festival? What was the atmosphere like?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the best way. It really was beautiful. Drug taking, yes, it was there, but I'm talking about cannabis, not the heavy drugs. And I know heavy drug people arrived there, they were ripped off, everything was burnt, their money was taken, and they were sold. London's up there, go.
But you see, a free festival is what it is. It's illegal. It's so that people can do what they like when they get there without the normal sanctions of law and order. And it's that type of thing which offends the normal public of Wiltshire.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, really. When we've had years and years before of no trouble, and because they'd stopped it, then we get the trouble. I mean, it seems all completely wrong in my eyes, but it's purely my own point of view, you know. So I don't know. And then with all the stopping of it, you know, our rates just escalate with all the way the police and everything had to be involved. So because they never used to cause any trouble down here whatsoever, never. And they were always very polite.
Well, it can get a bit hectic sometimes as there's a lot of them about, but we very rarely have problems with them. And to be quite honest, most of the time they're more polite than the visitors we have anyway.
Business-wise, we did very well out of the festival folk. We used to have, especially on days like this, we used to have quite a few festival folk in the pub, in the gardens. We used to confine them to the public bar, mainly because to keep them to a group. Some of them might have offended a few of our lounge customers, just the sight of them, but on the whole they were very well behaved. We didn't have any problems at all with them. We used to get the odd toilet roll missing or a towel, but they were very polite, very courteous, but we had no problems at all with them. So to be quite honest, I didn't like to see the festival stop, really.
This is the sort of thing, there are local traders who are only too willing to go up there and deliver it, rather than have the influx down to the village. But the local income, anyway, if you reckon 30,000 people there, each one spends in 1 week just £10. That's £300,000 going into the economy of the village. That is a heck of a lot of money, which is going to be cut out entirely by a £2 million legal bill. You're joking.
For the first 5 or 6 years or more of the Stonehenge Festival, it was an outsiders festival that came to Stonehenge. It has now become a major event in Wiltshire.
We will advise them that the injunctions have been granted and that there will be no festival at Stonehenge, and if they attempt to go there and break down the barricades or to drive through police or custodians, then they can expect to be dealt with, and they can be assured that I shall have the resolve and the resources to deal with it.
Last year, a very poor section of our society, the travelling people, got over £300,000 worth of damage done to their homes and their vehicles. A deliberate campaign to destroy their homes and their vehicles, to lock them all up, to take their children into care. It all happened. That's precisely what happened.
Last year at Cholderton, we dealt with the group of people who call themselves a peace convoy. Peace is completely a misnomer. The convoy is a group of people who move around the country 365 days of the year, who have no regard whatever for law and order. They have no regard whatever for the normal sanctions which we need in society to live together. They use the festivals for their own purposes of drug trafficking, for setting up protection rackets within the site, and they are very violent people to deal with in any situation.
We were on our way to Stonehenge. It was very much a group decision, like from the Rainbow Village people. Some of us had been to Stonehenge before and had quite a strong link there, and other people felt it was more of a political statement that even though we didn't care so much about Stonehenge, you know, as a festival itself, we felt that it was an incredible infringement on our rights just to be told that you just can't go to this place, you know, where people had been gathering for the last 11 years. And it was almost because we were told we shouldn't go there, we felt, you know, it's a stand to make to actually go there, even though a lot of us felt quite a lot of trepidation about what would happen. And we know, I think most of the people that were evicted from Molesworth in February ended up sort of going on the run to Stonehenge, and the police drove us into a field, actually forced us into a field which was very well situated as far as you know, so that we were totally surrounded by the police on all sides. There was no possible avenue of escape. Then they brought in more troops and just came in and sort of smashed us all up. There was a few people managed to get away by some sort of like chance, you know.
And it was like a chance of 1 in 100, I say now. And it was very, very lucky. And, well, what made us get out? Well, basically, I think I was pregnant and she was very frightened. I mean, she was a bit too little. She didn't really know. She did notice it. And we just sort of, basically, people running around like. They was just going mad, and the police was going mad, and everyone just looked like they'd totally lost everything sense of them. Everyone was just going, like running around like chickens without heads on them.
Most of us offered absolutely no resistance, you know, in terms of, you know, violent resistance to the police or anything like that. And we all got arrested over the weekend. Our children were taken away from us, you know, put into care over the weekend, which was very traumatic for the children, not to mention the parents. Our homes were broken up. Lots of us were living in buses or trucks, so we were just smashed up. When we got released from prison, we were released with no homes to go back to because the police had impounded them all, and then they sort of drew out the process of actually releasing those vehicles for over a week, so that people were living. It was a very, very cold June, you know, it's really, really cold. It was like pouring with rain. We're all sort of in this forest with maybe 20 people living in sort of buses which were normally housing 2 or 3. The vehicles coming out with windows smashed up, food strewn all over the floor, possessions broken and missing. And then ultimately 95% of us were never actually. We were all charged, but 95% of the charges were dropped without anybody ever going to court. So effectively what the police had done was they'd taken to deprive people of their liberty for a weekend, destroyed people's homes, which is a deliberate process to try and break up travellers' ways of life and to try and grind people down to make them feel they couldn't actually go for something they believed in. I mean, if they didn't actually feel there was anything in the end to bring charges for, it just shows the whole sham of it being a kind of a legal operation. It was just an act of complete wanton vandalism.
So again, I appeal to the National Trust in English Heritage, or whoever's sitting on them or behind them, to work out what can be done, because something can be done. But I'm also saying, quite strongly, that we can't talk forever and get nowhere.
We go on being threatened in this way, we've got to defend ourselves.
The role of police has got to be the one of responding to the wishes of the landowners.
The government created it, they won't recognise what they've created. They've created 3 million or 3.5 million unemployed. The people that live on the road, every year, given the chance, it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger because you can't exist within the city structure. So the kids come out on the road and they're trying to bash it.
Other minority group do you know in England that gets 24-hour police surveillance? They want to harass us to go back to living squatting in the cities. That's one we're prepared to do.
We obviously knew which route we were going to take last night, otherwise there wouldn't have been roadblocks set up continuously along it. And helicopters cost £2,000 a day, don't they?
Quite, because we're media heroes or media anti-heroes. It seems to be the media that breaks us, the media that sort of saves us as well. Or the media like you and a lot of cameramen have saved us a lot of hassle being away. It's the same media that have caused this problem in the first place by writing all that bilge for so many years in the bleeding paper.
Now it's AIDS. There was a top one article
I got that this morning. Everybody's got AIDS.
I mean, one time we were escorted through three county boundaries without being allowed to stop. Right, a 12-hour drive. And after that, when I jumped out of my truck, and after my truck had been rammed by a vehicle, just jumped out of the truck and said to the policeman, like, you know, just
snow drifts.
Just said to them, like, if you just go away, like, I screamed very loudly, if you don't go away, you know, I won't be responsible for my actions, and they did, like, I mean, I think they felt there's the force of truth, you know, because I'm not a violent person, I don't want to hurt anybody, but I've just been pushed beyond my limit. That makes me surprised, because they call us thugs and that, and yet they do that, they really push you, man, do you know what I mean, they really do, you've got to be a total angel, haven't you?
There are different extremes, you know, you've got sites that I call black anarchists, that when you get to know them, they're all right. They get fired by older members of the travelling fraternity that might set themselves up on site as being some sort of leader.
So young you were born to the fields, born like a flower to the sun. Free as the wind you were suddenly tethered, now it has all come undone. Tag along vagabond gypsy, oh, your smile is the sun in my eyes. Tag along vagabond gypsy, oh, dreaming for all of us, dreaming for all of us. on your body you wander alone, through forests and deserts all day, looking for reason for something unknown, just trying to find your own way. Tag along, vagabond, gypsy.
So you don't completely break away from it. What you do is you sit sort of in some sort of limbo.
Dreaming for all of us, dreaming for all of The sea's your mother, the wind's your best friend, your father is God in the clouds. You haven't a name yet you don't live in shame, and your pride stands out in the crowd. Vagabond, gypsy, oh, your smile is the sun in my eyes. Tag along, vagabond, gypsy, oh, you're dreaming for all of us, dreaming for all of I'm the father for whom you belong here, with you in my arms and love in my heart. I'll travel with peace in my pockets. Tag along, vagabond, gypsy, oh, your smile is the sun in my eyes. Tag along, vagabond, gypsy, oh, you're dreaming for all of us, dreaming for all of mankind.
There hasn't been one subculture that's been born on this planet that's been allowed to put its roots down and to grow. I mean, they tried to bash it at Stonehenge. I don't know whether you were there or whether you took photographs of it, but it was terrible what they'd done to us.
I'm not hungry. Yeah. How's not hungry? Do you want some chapati cake? Chapati cake? Best photographer in my life.
That bolt's got to come right out, man. It's still holding.
Oh, punches, thank God it's not on the bus at least anyway. Yeah, that really would be horrific, yeah. I have actually experimentally jacked it up and broken all the nuts, but I wouldn't like to try and change the wheel on my own.
Yeah, got bumped into the fan.
Yeah, I presume so, yeah. How's the fan got into it? I don't know, it's an unlikely marriage, isn't it? Look at that far out.
Do you know what's going on? They're letting you go in small groups, I gather.
I don't really care, mate. They're going to do what they're going to do anyway.
You reckon?
Well, they're going to do it. No matter what we do, they're going to do what they want to do. So therefore it's up to us to do what we want to do at the same time. I don't know, I can't speak for them, I can only speak for what I feel is going on. But something's going on.
You can't justify spending this amount of money on oppression, can they? No. How much money can you justify spending on the oppression of peaceful people? You just can't, can you? We don't need policing. We police ourselves. There's no heroin dealers here, there's no murderers, there's no rapists, there's no child abusers, there's no, you know, there's hashish and peaceful people. The reason convoys travel together is because they want to get away safely.
You know what's happening?
Oh, do you?
Well, all I can see is they're breaking you up into smaller groups.
Yeah,
that's basically it. We haven't really got a lot of choice now.
You realise you're not going with this group? You're the one up. Yep.
I mean, they've given us their word, but it's actually
Hang in there.
The travellers are scattered in every direction, and I am 2 miles from my own vehicle. I lose contact, and my equipment batteries are exhausted. A few days later, I learn they've managed to regroup. At Stony Cross, a disused airfield in the New Forest, they plan to stay for the solstice and recuperate. But it is not to be. While on my way to Hampshire on the 9th of June, I learn they've already been evicted, just before dawn, by 500 riot police. Their vehicles are all confiscated. By all accounts, they offer no resistance. Most continue their long pilgrimage to the solstice by walking for many days to Glastonbury Festival, where they are taken in. Along the way, they are showered with food and clothing by sympathetic residents.